And welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host, as always, Tina. How you doing, Tina?
I'm a little tired today, Rob. How you doing?
I'm all right. I can see that. You look like you're dragging ass just a hair.
You know, sometimes life hands it to you.
Fuck if that's not the truth. Man, you can't get me more spot on than that.
That is no joke.
And here in Southern California, we have been having the craziest weather.
Yeah, it's been
hot, sticky, and muggy. It's like the South.
And yet not hot enough for the pool to stay warm. So I don't know. I'm ready for some really hot weather so I could finish getting my tan before I turn translucent. And then it could turn into fall. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I think you're not going to be in luck anytime soon.
Yeah, I know. We didn't have like a summer to be in the pool much this year.
Not like a super hot. And it looks like, it's going to be by next weekend. It's going to be like in the high 70s, low 80s.
Dang, fall is
pretty crazy. That it is. Well, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Someone sent this to me because I get a lot of ideas these days from people who listen. And if you'd like to hear us talk about something, please go to our Facebook and Instagram, leave us a message, or Twitter, actually. Someone said friendship as the base, and it says have close friends dropped off because of their profession or political beliefs. And I found that one to be very entertaining to us, because I think in today's rough climate of political beliefs that we are running into that more and more in society. Maybe not with us, although we probably have stories, but I've heard it by a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And I find it that, we've talked about the trying to meet in the middle thing. And these days, for some reason, there is no middle ground for any of us. I guess we can hit both of these. We're in professions where they're very open, I would say, because mostly in your case, because you talk to people
about everything.
I work in sales, but I work in wholesale, which is very like, I know who's coming in. We don't sell to the public, so I don't have to really worry about. So I know I can pick and choose who I speak to a certain way, because I've kind of learned a lot of our clients. So I'm a little less likely to say the wrong thing to the wrong person, because I've kind of put in my own head, don't talk about this with this guy. This guy I can say anything to. There's guys that drop F-bombs like right when they come in the store. So I know that. So I think from that standpoint, from a professional thing, I don't have to worry. But before we got on here, I was kind of talking where, if you end up dating someone, you may end up dating someone who is in a very high profile profession where, I use a nurse as an example. If you go to a nurse's Christmas party where, we're talking about doctors that are going to be at this thing, and where you may want to be a little more subdued because you don't want to say anything. You don't want to embarrass. You don't want to drink too much at the party. So I understand that part. And I can see where you could go to the wrong thing and a friend might get upset or something to that nature, or even going to a wedding. You go to a wedding where there's multiple friends and you may have a little too much to drink in. Next thing you know, you're, waving your Trump flag in the air or your, rainbow flag in the air. So either side can start getting heated very quickly.
I've been in situations where some of my closest friends, there's a group of 4 or 5 of us, and one friend is very political and very open about it. I'm not at all. I quit watching TV. I don't give a shit. The less I know, the better. And there's been times where she's been so out of control that she makes everybody at the table pissed. And I'm like, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. I'm like, and people have gotten up and walked out, and she just doesn't get it. And I have to tell her, like, you could come with us, but you need to stop at half speed. Like, stop there. Don't continue. Don't rev it up anymore. Like, learn to shut up about this stuff. Excuse me. I said it as nicely as I could. I did not tell her to shut up. But at some point, I literally did say, look, shut up. We're not talking about that here. Take it down. Like, I don't want to deal with this right now. And if you don't, you won't be coming with us. She apologized after the fact, because she knows that when I finally get to the point where I say something, somebody's out of hand, because I'll let people spin their own wheels, do their own thing. I'm not going to get involved. But that when it comes to that, when we can't even sit at a table and have lunch, that's when I draw the line. But then there's also people I know. One of my very best friends during COVID, like, our political views were very different. And I know she struggled because I didn't care. And I was probably more insensitive than I needed to be with her. But I was just so done with it. I couldn't deal with it. But thankfully, she's patient and she didn't cut me off. But she is quick to tell me we are very different politically, which is fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, at the end of the day, you're bound to make people angry.
You have made me very angry indeed.
And I understand
That's
that.
Funny.
Look, at some point, you're going to say something, and it could be about anything. I just think now politics is a hot button because both sides at these moments in time are not happy. Where we see the world from two different views, and well, at least the extremists of both of them. I think we're more in the middle than we think, but now we just refuse to talk to each other.
Right.
And I think that's a bigger problem.
That's me. I just don't want to have that conversation with you, so I will dodge and weave, Bob and weave. I
will bob, weave,
dodge, do whatever you got to do.
Dodge, a couple of jabs here and there.
Right.
I'm all up for talking. Look, and I'm also one that says, look, we have to agree to disagree because you have to at some point, have to do that. If you want to keep your friendship alive. But I also have, I have a big trap. So it gets me in trouble.
See, where I just want to get out of the situation, I will avoid people. I will not, I'm busy for lunch. Like I would definitely do that to avoid certain conversations. Not because I don't want to have the conversation about how I don't want to have that conversation. And I also just, it's not that important to me. So I'll let people like spin their own wheels on their own street and not be around them because it's just not pleasant for me. And at this stage of the game, if things aren't fun or not even fun, it's like if they're not pleasant, I don't want to have them. I'm pretty cool to not be miserable anymore. So if it's going to cause me some sort of angst or frustration, I avoid the shit out of it, to just be honest with you. I just don't care.
And I think that that's probably a very healthy way to do it. By not getting knee deep in the shit you generally don't smell.
Right.
So I get that. I think, like you said, I think COVID also split us as a society because there were people who were just like, lockdowns are nonsense, where we need to get out. We need to do
that
this.
Was me. That was
and then the flip side of, we need to lock ourselves inside. People are dying, blah, blah, blah. So both sides of that, I think, had an equal footing at one point. I think near the end of COVID, the people who were talking about staying inside and wearing masks had absolutely no foothold at all. And then, of course, 2 years later,
it's coming back again.
It's coming back again, but we know that all that stuff before was utter nonsense. Masks do not work. There's been a million studies that say they don't. It doesn't matter what you do. Even in N95, they're saying long run is not going to save you from getting sick. Lockdowns don't do anything but make people angry. And I think you're going to see a major pushback if they try to do that again.
I hope so, because they ruined my life for long enough. Now it's time for us to work and do what we got to do and live our lives. And when we get sick, get over it, get that immune system built up so we don't have to keep going through this. I have a lot of friends, I don't know why I'm going off on that topic, that are now saying, and they're younger than me, that they have congestive heart failure. And they're all saying, I bet you it was the shots for COVID. And there's no other reason. And they're young. That's the crazy part. They're in their 40s with congestive heart failure. How do you not study that? How are we not having somebody say, look, this isn't the best thing for anybody? And
right.
It just seems too coincidental.
I think the long-term repercussions will obviously come out. Unfortunately, that if there is an issue with that shot, it's going to do a lot of damage to people. Now, the flip side of that is that obviously I think that it's working in some people. So, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to get too knee deep into that one, but I definitely think the having a choice is
that's
the bigger
a novel
thing.
idea.
I think that, we live in a country of freedom. So look, if you don't want to get anything, the government should not tell you to do it. Period.
Absolutely not.
Just like, it's kind of a weird thing where, like, let's say the lockdown orders, none of those were laws. So really, you don't have to do them. I think, like I said, I think you're going to see a lot of people changing their attitudes this time around, that we understand that locking people up for 2 years is not a healthy thing. And again, just saying that can lose you a friend. So, we're talking about this very damaging things that are happening to people. And like, I saw it a lot more in families, how families were ripped apart by having a different view. Unfortunately, politically is part of choosing a side in the COVID battle, because generally one side believed in freedom and the other side believed in locking down and not killing people. So I saw it a lot more in families.
A lot of it just depended on what happened in the family. Like if somebody had passed in the family, then they thought wholeheartedly in one direction.
For sure.
But if it didn't,
without a doubt,
it could have been quite different.
Yeah. Like my dad got it. My mom got it. Now, looking back from then, my mom, who was sick with something else, like she was sick for a very long time and she passed away. My dad is quite healthy. Now they live two different lifestyles as well. So I think when you start breaking down COVID and having political views that are different than your friends, you have to look at, like you said, what happened in the family, what happened around them statistically, just what they believe in general. Because I think that's the line in the sand, right? Where do you stand? And I think that that's what happens with families. I remember getting in arguments with my own family about things I believed in that I've changed my mind since. But I can recall one Thanksgiving where I said something, and I want to say my kid was like maybe 2. So it was like, 18 or 19 years ago. And I said something and the whole place got quiet. Like I was like public enemy number 1. Like they couldn't believe it came out of my mouth.
Wow.
And I think it would have been, I don't know about a political statement, but it was definitely something that we would argue about now politically. So, and I could see it on their faces, and I was like, oh, and even my ex-wife was there, and she was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that. And I was like, yeah, looking back on it. So I don't particularly bite my tongue anymore, but I definitely, don't try to fist fight people either. Right. I think there's a happy medium with friends and family that if you know your friends, you know where they generally stand.
Mm-hmm.
And I do my best to get them to a limit where if it starts getting a little dodgy, I pump the brakes, because it's not worth not having a good time with your friends just over what you believe.
And you're never going to believe exactly the same things. It's just not going to happen. And it's unrealistic to think that you could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that that's what we do as friends, right? Mm-hmm. You find the 85% you believe in, and then you let the rest of it kind of go in and out of each other, because it's not worth fighting. Or you find the things that bring you together, and you definitely push those as the main thing you do.
I remember when I was in high school, one of my friends was one of my best friends. We had started kindergarten, first grade together, and we had stayed friends the whole time, went to the same schools, and kept our relationship going, lived in the same neighborhood. We were very close. And she started going to this church that's a little bit more than what I think church should be for people. And they told her that I shouldn't be friends with her because we're not going to the same place. And it was about creating relationships that would last for eternity. And so she came to me in the 10th grade and she told me this, and I was like, wait, you're not going to be my friend because I don't believe in your religious views? And she said, well, yeah, because you're not going to go to heaven. And I was like, okay. And I looked at her kind of funny, like, are you sure? Because in the 10, 11 years that we went to school, we never even had a disagreement. We had always been super cool with each other. And she's like, no, I mean it. And I was like, all right. Like, I didn't know what to say. I was totally caught off guard. We didn't talk for about a year. And the next year comes and she grabs me and she hugs me. She's like, I'm such a jerk. I'm so sorry. I never should have lost you as a friend. I went to this church and I found out who my real friends are, and I apologize. And just as much as I said okay when she left because I was confused, I said, okay, welcome back, because she was my friend. And we didn't even fight when she broke up with me. We just didn't talk. And it was hard. I mean, it wasn't like there was nothing that had happened that would cause that problem. So we didn't make it a huge issue. And we were able to bring it back around, and we remain friends to this day. So I believe that sometimes you need to separate yourself from people that don't believe in your views, just to allow them space to be who they need to be. And hopefully, if they're good people, good friends, good family, they'll always roll back around. That's not always the case. I've lost a lot of friends over a lot less, but were they really my friends to begin with? I think that's the test to life. Like who who is going to stick by you when you don't agree with them. My friends, I tell them all the time, I'm not here to judge you, but I will pop popcorn and watch. So you do whatever it is you want to do and just let me know the story. I just want the story. And I find that because I do that, people tell me probably more than I want to hear a lot of the time. But in that, I have better relationships with my friends because I allow them to be whoever they want to around me. And I think that as people, as human beings, as friends, as family, we've lost track of that. And we need to start allowing people to go through whatever it is they need to go through to get their lessons in life, to learn what they need to learn in life. And sometimes you can't be around them. Like my friend that's political, I tell her all the time, if you talk like this, I can't go to lunch with you. So can we agree not to agree that we are not going to talk about religion and we're not going to talk about politics? Now, I have to say she is not any good at keeping her promise. She's absolutely no good, but she minimizes it because she knows my fuse is only a quarter of an inch long. So
Right.
We've come to a place of a happy medium. She gets to get out whatever she wants to in this amount of time. And I don't have to tell her to pump the brakes because she just wasted an hour and a half of my life talking about Fox News. We found our middle ground, which isn't that what we're supposed to do, is find a middle ground. We're supposed to find a way to coexist with one another and respect the fact that we don't think the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the best way of doing it is exactly what you just said. It's about finding the level that either of you will take, mm-hmm. and then reverting back to what makes you friends.
Yes. Because, for some reason, I know in my heart that the people that are in my life, they're supposed to be there. They were handpicked for me in this life. I really do feel that. I do, because I've learned lessons from all of my people in my life, and I don't think that we should be so quick to throw somebody away just because they don't believe in what we believe in. Because if that were the case, two of my very best friends would not be speaking to me right now. And one I've been friends with for about 15 years and the other since I was in the 8th grade. Longtime people.
Yeah. And I think when you look at how we're all different, like you said, we all have these little idiosyncrasies, right, of how we are or what we do. And they're easily can bug people, regardless of your political beliefs. I just think that those are the things that are in the forefront right now because we all have a 24-hour news cycle on our phone. Mm-hmm. And you go on any social media, which we both know and have talked in length about how it is the death of people. And
it's dividing everybody.
It's dividing everyone. World. So now you could go and have lunch with somebody and be talking about everything other than that. And one text or one alert can turn that conversation. Mm. My best friend, we have a love of pop culture and comic books and wrestling. So those are when we get together, we get a lot of that stuff out. And then, of course, we talk about our past or whatever, whatever's in that scheme of things. Politics rarely comes up. Mm-hmm. And I just think that that's how we do our best to do that. Like, I don't think we do it purposely because we'll get on a tangent talking about whatever wrestling storyline or whatever comic book movie, or did you see this or did you see that? So I think that that's the good part. And I think that we have to do our best to do that all the time. But I agree with what you said before. Sometimes time away from someone is what will end up bringing you closer. Because sometimes you do need a break from somebody, whether it's, political, religion, profession, whatever it is that might have put a wall up between you. it's nice to walk around the wall and go, hey, it's been a while. Where are you at? What's going on? Let's see. I moved. So when I moved to a different place, we were talking before we got on, like, I don't have a lot of friends on this side of the world. So, and the ones I talk to are very limited, and probably a lot of where I live is in the same political region. And where I lived before it was I would say very left leaning. So, but I never got in arguments with people there either. I stated what I believed. And if you believe different, more power to you. I think everything's, if you're political, believe in the system, and that if you vote, you should vote it away.
Mm-hmm.
And then it should stop at that. I'm okay with saying, hey, I believe this. But when you start getting into like, really punching back at people, it's like, stop. We're going to ruin something that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's order chips and salsa. That's better.
Yeah. I have a friend
like
that won't talk to me now. And I know she's going through some pretty serious issues in her life. And she and I were inseparable for a long time. And she hasn't told me what the problem is. I'm sure she didn't like whatever it was I did at the time, and had judgment or whatever on me for that. I'm sure, because there really wasn't a reason for us to not be close. And the sad part is I never judged her. She was who she was. I was who I am. And I loved her for being her. And the sad part is now that she's going through all these things, I'm not going to be a part of it to help her. And over the years, whether we agreed or disagreed with each other, we were always there for each other. And not only that, but we learned from each other. We learned a lot from each other. So I feel the sense of urgency to want to reach out. But at the same time, every time I do, I get slammed, like, the door's shut, you're not coming through it. So I had to back away. It doesn't make me feel good. I wish I could be there. But, it also doesn't make me feel good that she'd have judgment on me, because she and I have never been friends for being perfect. We were friends because we could do the same things, act the same way, commiserate when we needed to. But ultimately, we were both wild together and had a blast. So, I know as you get older, you don't want to act certain ways, or you're not happy with certain things that your friends do. But true friends like that, you say, hey, don't be stupid. I don't want to see you doing this, or I don't like that you did that, or, you shouldn't have gone here. To talk and say something. Don't throw a person away, because you may find in your life that one person would be the one, the one, it would say the one thing that would keep you sane, or would say the one thing that would get you through, or would just know that one time when you're really going through it, they'd be there to give you a hug. And sometimes we forget about all the good that somebody does, because we don't like their views, or we don't like what they said, or what they did, or who they date, or how tall they are. I don't know, pick whatever you want to pick about it, and not like that. But is it worth losing somebody that you're that close to? I don't think it is. I think you really have to be careful who you shut out of your life. Because again, I do believe these souls that are put in our lives to ride this wave with us was handpicked to be there for us. If we could just get over our ego enough to be okay with who they are, to be okay with who we are, and to love and be close to each other. I think that if we do that, I think that's the lesson that we're supposed to learn. It's not divide and conquer. It's find a way to all coexist.
I totally agree with what you just said. I think I wasn't a big believer in that people come into your lives for a reason. And then people have, and where I kind of stepped back for a second and went, this is kind of odd. Like you shouldn't be in my life. Like we live different lives and then things come back. Or like us, like I think that we've never fallen out of each other's lives. We just lived and we find each other coming back.
We recycle each other. I don't know.
Yeah, for whatever. But we did talk about that well before this podcast that like we're going to do our best not to fall out of that again.
Right.
But I think, we also got married in our 30s and, life changes. Life. Yeah. Things like that change. Mm-hmm. But even during that, we did talk. It just not on the same level. But I think you're right that, you have to look and see why people come into your life. And even if you might not believe everything they are 100%, that there's reasons they're there. My best friend, there's a reason he's there. Mm-hmm. And there's things we don't agree on. And I have another friend of mine that we're politically polar opposites, but we find a middle ground in things that we like. And I think that that's where you can, we've talked about opposites attracting, and where you see these things where there's such a core of what it is that they're the small outliers. You're like, yeah, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I don't care about this. And I think as friends and family, if your political belief is going to push someone away, you need to dig a little deeper into maybe who you are in your soul and realize that you're probably going to get rid of a friend or someone very close to you for the dumbest reason possible. Because in a couple of years, your political belief may change.
Right. And then, people don't know how to apologize either. Like when situations like that happen, I notice that people stay so angry for so long that it's not until somebody's on their deathbed and they're forced to talk about it. By then the time is gone. It's too late. I see that happening a lot, or I hear of it happening a lot. And I always say, is that really how I want to be with whomever it is that I'm having issues with? Now, there are some people, that's exactly how I want to be. I don't want to go down that road with them ever again. And that was the lesson I needed to learn with them. Mm-hmm. Lesson learned. But that's not always the lesson. And I try really hard to make sure I know the difference, because there's a big difference.
There is. And I kind of agree with you where you have to look at the bigger picture long run. What's I think people today just disappear. Like you said, the ghosting thing where like someone gets mad at you and you just don't talk anymore. Mm-hmm. Or if you get to a certain spot in your life and you're like, yeah, I just go different directions. And it happens. And sometimes it happens purposely. And sometimes it just happens because life, you move far away or you move across the country. And it's easy to get out of phase with those type of people because you're not seeing them on a daily basis. And but when you do see them, generally those relationships pop right back. And I think that's the bigger thing, is looking at politics as a outlier of why you need to be friends with somebody is the worst possible thing. I don't want to be friends with somebody because they believe everything I believe. I want to be friends with somebody because we have moral or just a love for things. I can go out and hang out with somebody who is just a hockey fan, hang out with them for 3 hours watching a game and go, okay, dude, I got a jam. And then not talk to them until it's the next time to watch a game. Mm-hmm. Because that is what keeps us together, is our love for hockey. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You can have that kind of friend where you don't go discuss anything other than what's going on, maybe inside your family or how the kids or how's your wife doing, and then enjoy the game. And if more people did things like that, where they saw the core things that keep you friends, we'd be better off.
Oh, by far. By far. But people need to be wronged, or they need to make people wrong, or they need to poo-poo ideas that don't work for them in their world. What are you laughing at, Rob? Because I said poo-pooed.
Poo-poo.
But it's so true. It's like, why do people get so angry? And really, if you're a friend and you're doing that to your other friends, like, get a freaking life. Get a life. If you have nothing better to do than to be offended by somebody else's views, first of all, fuck off. I don't have time for that. But second of all, like, get a life. Get a life to where it's not offensive to you anymore. Get a life that's so busy and so happy and so fulfilled that you don't have time to hate somebody else. Because seriously, I've had enough of it.
Yeah, I think we also need to realize that we all have different ideologies.
Yes.
You can not belong to a political party and still have an ideology. And when people start realizing that as well, that if you keep putting people in a box, like these certain people all
Could
believe
only be
this,
yeah,
then we're in a place where we'll never recover, and you'll never have friends, and you'll never trust anyone. You just have to realize that these people have this ideology and I have this ideology. And if we can't meet somewhere in the middle, then okay, I understand that you don't want to talk to me. C'est la vie. But I do my best to, tie a rope around them and go, look, it's okay. Like, don't run too far away, because we still believe this, and this.
I still need you. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. There are those people that you need to be able to talk to, or just get a hug from, or they need to realize that no matter what happens, that you're going to be there for them. And even if you're having a tiff at the moment and there's something wrong, you should still be able to get a hold of these people and go, hey, just so you know, I'm here for you. And it's important for those people to know that. Maybe you're mad at me because I am a gun guy and I believe in gun rights, and you're super against it. If that's the only thing that keeps us from being friends, we're never friends in the beginning. There's got to be more glue to that than just that. And I think once you start looking at what makes you friends, or what makes you boyfriends and girlfriends, I know several people who are married and their mates have different, I wouldn't say total political views, but definitely there's some things that they don't agree on. But their middle ground is their love for each other. And you have to be able to get there. And that's the same love for your family and the same love for your friends. Find the thing that is the glue to your relationship and keep it.
I call them my married couples, my friends that are married. I met them all the same. They're a wild bunch, very, very gun-toting. Like,
and what do you call them?
The crazies.
The crazies.
The crazies are my favorites. They are. I love them. Anyway, their gun views are like, well, please forgive me. I would say like more redneck American type people. Like beer drinking, go into the races. Rednecks. Like their views, they're not rednecks, but their views are like more, they're just more like country. I don't want to say country America, but that just sounds
more rural.
Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, they have views that were not always mine. Like they could drink like crazy. I don't drink at all when I'm with them. You know, we have conversations that get way out of control and as wild as they can be. And a lot of the time I don't necessarily agree with them, but I just like the fact that they say what the hell they want and what they need and how they believe. And I respect them on such a level, and they're such good people to me, and they're totally different than me, and we make fun of all of our differences. Like that's just from the get, you know, you're going to get picked on and made fun of and kind of poked, but the most decent human beings I've ever met in my life. I love the hell out of them. And how sad would it be if I couldn't get there with them because they just don't think the way I do completely. And we don't always disagree. But when we disagree, I'm like, ooh, that was a good one. I wouldn't say that or I wouldn't do that. But I just don't get offended with them. I laugh at them and go, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. And I adore these people. There's nothing I wouldn't do if they called right today and said, I need this or that. I would give it to them in a heartbeat. But the flip side is, I think they would for me too. And our views, thank God, haven't got us into these jams where we can't be friends. Because what a waste of a valued friendship if that were the case.
For sure. I met someone a lot of years ago. And we chatted a lot at events that we happened to be at the same time. And she thinks a certain way and I thought a different way. But out of the goodness of her heart, she realized that there was more to me than my one belief against it. And she even said something to me way later, years later, like, yeah, we didn't agree, but, you know, I looked past that. And now, years later, we probably agree more on that same topic than we did then.
Right.
You know, so those things, you know, we do change as humans. And if she didn't give me the benefit of the doubt of being a decent person, even though we didn't agree on that particular thing, hey, there's something to it. Like she said something to me one time. She was like, she goes, yeah, I didn't hold that you didn't believe in God against you.
Was that me? Because I felt the same way.
Right.
When you told me I felt bad for you, I was like, really? You don't have, how do you have faith? How do you have that belief that something will be okay? I used to worry about that for you, Rob. I'm not going to lie.
And she kind of said the same thing to me, but you know, years later, she was like, you know, I'm glad I didn't hold that against you. And I was like, well, I'm glad you didn't hold it against me because you know, what she means to me now, you know, means more. So,
but at the time we didn't know that you could care that freaking bad, that you could blow up a relationship because people didn't do that then. If we didn't agree, we just didn't talk about that conversation with whomever it was. And we skated around it and hoped we didn't have to talk about it. It wasn't like, I can't be your friend. I don't want you in my life. Those things never came out of anybody back then.
Well, and the good part about it is when this was happening, it was on a very subdued level because we just happened to be at the same event together and we would talk during it. Years later, I started talking to her way more. And that's when things really kind of got out in the open. And I was like, well, I'm really glad that you didn't hold it against me, you know, 10 years later, because that would have sucked. So I think people need to learn from that as well. Is that, look, there's way more to people that you should be able to talk on some level and agree to disagree, meet in the middle, and the things that bond you together, hold on to very dearly.
I agree. Totally agree. Because it's hard to, you know what I know about life is it's hard to make a good friend, but you don't have to make it that hard to keep it.
No, I agree with that. That keeping your friend should be the easiest thing in the world. and if you don't believe something, it should be easy to meet in the middle.
Or just avoid it altogether. I'm okay with that too.
Or me too. I'm all up. I'm all up for avoiding some things to keep my friendships going.
Yeah.
And I do that. And I think that we should all do that. And if things are pressing you that hard, you should be able to sit down with somebody and go, hey, let's not let this get out of hand ever.
Right.
Because, trust in a friendship is huge, and you have to have trust in somebody, and that what they're saying to you is real, and that you can continue to move your friendship forward. I mean, like I said, our friendship is what, for 30 something years now, right?
It's
and I
like
think
33 years.
No, it's more than that, I think.
Is it? Is it 35?
Probably, because I think me and
35.
my best friend is 40. We're hitting 40 this year. I knew him in 6th grade.
I met you in 10th.
Yeah, so we got an extra 4 years. So yeah, so ours is probably 36, and me and my buddies we're going to be 40 this year. So.
And we have not agreed on a lot of things over the years.
A lot of things, yeah.
It's not working for me, Rob. You're not getting rid of me that easily.
Yeah, I know. I've not that I haven't tried hard enough.
You did. Ass.
It's funny too, because I'm getting a gift for my friend for our 40, and he has no idea. And I don't think he listens to this, although he may, because he's in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting him something that he'll never see coming. And it's something that really bonds us as friends. So I think it'll be an interesting thing to see his face. It's being made right now, so it's going to be
that's so cool.
Probably another 7 or 8 weeks until I get it.
Wow. You're gonna have to tell me what it is off the air.
Yeah, and then his birthday's coming at the end of this month, so I'll kind of say, hey, look, there's something coming, but it's for this and this. So, but he'll have. You
need to go down and give it to him so you could see his reaction.
Oh no, I'm going to. I can't send this in the mail.
Yeah, good.
This is one. I mean, I could, but I'd have to insure it and FedEx it, and I'm going to go down there. I want to hand it to him right to his face, because he's going to shit a purple Twinkie. So it's going to be great.
Haven't seen one of those in a while.
I know. Well, any last words?
Be kind to each other. This bullshit of everybody getting so worked up you can't be in the same room is stupid.
Yep, I totally agree. Leave your politics at the door.
Leave your judgments and attitude at the door. Just do that.
Yeah. And make sure to check out our socials on the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And check us out wherever you listen to podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google. Make sure to subscribe. And if you can, leave us a star rating and a quick review, because it helps us get more listeners.
And do us a favor and pass us along.
Yes. Share, and get a hold of us with some ideas. And if you want to come on, please get a hold of us. We would love to have more guests on. I think we love bouncing things off each other, and we're a good time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is an opinion show, so don't get it twisted. You keep coming back every Wednesday. Thanks, guys. And we will talk to you in a week. Bye, Teeners.
Bye.